If you get Social Security, SSDI, SSI, VA benefits, or railroad retirement, you need to hear this right now, because there is a possible $1,400 increase being discussed for millions of Americans today, and most people have absolutely no clue it's even on the table. They're going to notice when it either lands in their bank account or when they realize they overlooked something they should have known about. So stay with me for a moment, because I'm going to explain this in simple language today. Explain exactly who this affects, how it works, when it could happen, and what you need to do right now so you don't get left behind at all. Let's begin at the start, because I want to be sure everyone watching is on the same page here. Whether you've been getting benefits for 20 years or you just started, Social Security, SSDI, SSI, VA compensation, and railroad retirement benefits. These are not just checks either.
For tens of millions of Americans, these are lifelines. These payments cover rent, groceries, prescriptions, utilities, and the basic cost of living month by month. And for a long time, a lot of people getting these benefits have felt like they're slipping farther and farther behind because the cost of everything keeps climbing again. But their monthly amount doesn't always keep up. That's the main frustration. And that's exactly what this possible $2,400 increase is trying to solve. Now, I want to be clear with you right away because I always try to be straight with you here. This is not finalized just yet either. This is a proposal, a policy push that has real momentum behind it in 2026. And whether it passes fully, partially, or gets adjusted along the way, you deserve to understand what's being proposed, who it covers, and why it matters at all. So let's walk through this together. Here's what many people don't realize at first. There are several different benefit programs being discussed in connection with this increase, and they don't all operate the same way. Social Security retirement benefits, Social Security Disability Insurance, which is SSDI, Supplemental Security Income, which is SSI, Veterans Affairs Compensation, and Railroad Retirement Board benefits today. These are 5 separate programs. They serve different groups, they have different rules, but they all share one common theme right now, which is that beneficiaries across all 5 groups are pushing back and saying, what we're getting is not keeping up with real-world costs these days. And lawmakers are finally beginning to listen in a more serious way than they have in years. So let's talk about where this $2,400 number comes from. Stay with me, because this part matters. The proposal being discussed would deliver an average increase of about $2,400 per year to eligible recipients. Now, that works out to about $200 extra each month. And before you say that's not very much, let me stop you there, right? Because for someone living on $100 or $300 or even $600 a month, an extra $200 is not small. That's a utility bill. That's a month of groceries. That's a prescription copay that doesn't have to go onto a credit card. That is real money for real people. And I don't want anyone to minimize that. Now, how would this increase actually be delivered? Let's take a step back and talk about the mechanism. There are a few different approaches being floated, and this is where it gets a little technical, but don't worry, I'll explain this in plain English. One approach is a direct across-the-board benefit increase, where every recipient in the covered program simply gets a set dollar amount added to their monthly payment. Another approach ties the increase to a change in how cost of living adjustments, or COLAs, are calculated overall. You may have heard of the CPI-E, which stands for Consumer Price Index for the Elderly. Right now, Social Security COLAs are calculated using something called the CPI-W, which actually measures the spending habits of working-age people, not retirees or people with disabilities. The argument, and it's a strong one, is that older Americans and disabled Americans spend more of their money on healthcare and housing than working-age people do, and those costs have gone up faster than general inflation. So, if you switch the formula to better reflect what these populations actually spend money on, the COLA you get each year would be higher. Over time, that adds up in a meaningful way for many recipients too. And for some people, it adds up to that $2,400 a year figure. Here's what many people don't realize yet. The COLA issue has been quietly eroding the buying power of Social Security and other benefits over many years continuously. Back in 2023 and 2024, we had some big COLA increases, 8.7% and then 3.2% because inflation was running hot. But before that, there were years where the COLA was 1.3% or even zero. Meanwhile, Medicare premiums were rising, rent was rising, and the cost of food was rising too. So beneficiaries were technically getting a COLA, but their actual spending power was shrinking steadily. This reform is trying to fix that structural issue once and for all, going forward for beneficiaries. Now, let's talk about who specifically would be affected because this is where a lot of people get confused. If you receive Social Security retirement benefits, meaning you worked, you paid into the system, and now you're drawing your earned benefit, you would be included in this. If you receive SSDI, meaning you have a disability that prevents you from working, and Social Security has approved your claim, you would be included. If you receive SSI, Supplemental Security Income, which is for people who are elderly, blind, or disabled, and have very limited income and resources, you would also be in the mix. Though the details of how SSI increases are handled can be a little different, and I'll come back to that. If you are a veteran receiving VA disability compensation, there is a parallel push happening to make sure veterans' benefits also keep pace too. And some versions of the proposal explicitly include VA recipients. And if you receive railroad retirement benefits, which is a separate federal retirement system for railroad workers and their families, you would also be affected under the reform umbrella. Let's talk real numbers for a second, because I want you to actually feel this, not just hear it in the abstract. Let's say you're a retired person receiving $100 a month from Social Security right now. With a $200 monthly increase, you're now at $1,600 a month. Over 12 months, that's $2,400 more per year in your pocket. If you're on SSDI and receiving $100 a month, which honestly is a very common payment amount, going to Vibe to $300 a month means you can actually cover your car insurance without panicking, or keep the heat on all winter, or stop choosing between food and medication. I know that sounds dramatic, but for millions of people, that is literally the math they are doing every single month. And this proposal recognizes that reality. Now, here's something I really want you to understand, because this is the part that gets lost in headlines often. Even if this proposal passes, it is almost certainly going to be implemented in a phased manner, meaning you probably won't wake up one morning and suddenly have $2,000 or $400 extra in your bank account all at once. It is much more likely to come as a monthly increase, that $200 or so added to your payment going forward each month. So, managing your expectations about the timeline and the delivery method is important. Don't let anyone tell you that you're going to get a lump sum check for $2,400 dropping into your account next week. If someone is telling you that, be very cautious. And that brings me to something I need to address directly. Scams are a problem here. This is serious stuff. Every single time there is major news about Social Security, SSDI, SSI, VA, or any federal benefit program, scammers come out of the woodwork within days. They will call you, text you, email you, maybe even show up in your Facebook feed, telling you that you need to confirm your banking information to receive the new increase, or that there's a special enrollment window and you'll miss out if you don't act immediately, or that there's a fee to process your increase. None of that is real. The Social Security Administration, the VA, the Railroad Retirement Board, none of these agencies will call you out of the blue and ask for your bank account number or your Social Security number over the phone. If that happens, hang up. Do not engage. These scammers are specifically targeting older adults and people with disabilities because they know these groups are paying close attention to benefit news right now. So please share this warning with anyone you know who receives these benefits. This is not something to feel ashamed about. These are skilled criminals, and staying alert is the smartest thing you can do. Now, let's talk about what you should actually be doing right now in 2026 to prepare for this possible change and to make sure you're in the best possible position to benefit from it. First thing, make sure your direct deposit information is current and correct with whichever agency pays your benefit. If your bank account changed, if you moved, if anything about your payment setup changed, update it right away if you can. Don't wait for a change to happen and then scramble to figure out why your money went somewhere wrong after that switch takes place. Log into your My Social Security account at ssa.gov or contact the VA or the RRB directly and verify everything is accurate. Second, make sure you know exactly what you're receiving and why right now. A lot of people receive their payment and honestly don't know the exact breakdown, base benefit, deductions, Medicare premiums being withheld, whatever it might be. When an increase comes, you want to look at it and say, yes, that makes sense to me now. Or, wait, something's off here right now. You can't do that if you don't know your baseline. So get your benefit verification letter, download your statement, and know your numbers. Third, if you have a trusted family member, a caregiver, or a financial counselor who helps you manage your finances, loop them in now. Let them know about this possible increase. Talk through what an extra $200 a month would mean for your budget, and start thinking about how you'd use it wisely. Would it go toward medical bills, into an emergency fund, or toward reducing debt? Having a plan means that when the money arrives, it actually improves your life in a lasting way rather than getting swallowed by chaos. And here's something that applies specifically to SSI recipients that I really want you to hear. SSI has asset limits. Currently $2,000 for an individual and $3,000 for a couple. If you receive SSI and you suddenly have extra income or more savings than the allowed limit, it can affect your eligibility. Now, for a monthly increase of $200, this is unlikely to push most people over any cliff, but it is worth being aware of. If your financial situation is close to any limit thresholds, it's worth a conversation with a benefits counselor, many of whom offer free services through nonprofit organizations, so you fully understand how any increase might interact with your specific eligibility. Let's talk about the bigger picture for a moment because I think it's important. This push for a meaningful benefit increase in 2026 is happening against a backdrop of really serious financial pressure on American families. Inflation cooled down from its peak, but the prices that went up, groceries, housing, healthcare, largely did not come back down. They're just growing more slowly now. And for people living on fixed incomes, growing more slowly still means getting more expensive every year. The argument for this increase is not just compassionate, it's economically logical. When people on fixed incomes have more money, they spend it. They don't put it in offshore accounts. They buy groceries from local stores. They pay local service providers. They keep the money circulating in their communities. It's a different kind of economic stimulus and one that reaches people who genuinely need it. As for what happens next, Congress will continue to debate the details of this proposal through 2026. There will be hearings. There will be amendments. There will be political back and forth. That's the nature of how these things work. But the momentum is real. The need is documented, and millions of Americans are paying close attention. The best thing you can do is stay informed, stay engaged, and make sure the people representing you in Washington know that this matters to you. Write a letter, make a call, have a conversation with your neighbor who also receives benefits. Collective awareness creates political pressure, and political pressure moves policy. And I want to leave you with this. You earned these benefits. Whether it came through decades of work and payroll contributions, through service to this country, through a disability that changed your life, or through a lifetime of limited resources, you are entitled to receive support that actually keeps up with the reality of living in this country. A $2,400 annual increase is not a handout. It is a recognition that the current system has been falling behind and that the people who depend on it deserve better. Don't let anyone make you feel otherwise. So here's what I need you to do right now. Check your current benefit amount. Verify your direct deposit information. Watch out for scams. Report anything suspicious to the Federal Trade Commission at reportfraud.ftc.gov or to your agency's Inspector General. Stay tuned to updates as this proposal moves through Congress, and please share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Your parent, your neighbor, your friend who's been worried about making ends meet, because the more people understand what's happening, the better positioned everyone is to benefit from it. Don't leave money on the table. Stay informed. Check your account and share this with someone who needs to hear it.